When you studied in the US, you would have studied cases that belong to the US. When you came down to the grassroots levels here in India, what stood out for you? What was the difference between studying criminology and working actually at the grassroots?
See, criminology as a discipline will not be the people and my team. Even some of the, particularly for me, IPS was my first chance, and I joined IPS at a very young age.
Correct.
So they would treat me as if I'm under their care, and they'll be very affectionate. And similarly, people also. I remember a crime scene when we were visiting. I found the man of the house was not very happy somehow with the pace of investigation. So he told his wife something which I couldn't understand. We didn't bother also. They must be talking. Then she came to me and she whispered into my ear. She said, "Moppunai varalai."
Oh,
so...
And also a lot of reading that I've done about you, that you're not somebody who raises her voice, but you have that quiet command when you walk into a space.
I think my juniors would be able to tell you better about that. Aggression need not be raising your voice. Raising your voice, it may intimidate people temporarily, it may instill fear, but in the long run.
What has been the most shocking truth or insight about crime in India that no one knows or talks about?
Data would not reveal that, but yes, the exposure to cases has made me believe that masterminds, they very rarely get caught. Everybody knows about it, but we rarely discuss it. We all know when a particular thing happens, some crime takes place, we know the person behind it. But it's something which everybody deliberately ignores.
Some people break barriers, others dissolve them entirely. And today, I have the honor of speaking with a woman who did both, not through noise, but through the quiet resolve and unwavering discipline. Srimati Archana Ramasundaram IPS is one of the most respected officers in the history of Indian policing. She joined the Indian Police Service in 1980 and went on to become the first woman to lead a central armed police force as the Director General of Sahastra Seema Bal. She served as Joint Director at the Central Bureau of Investigation, where she oversaw some of the most sensitive and high-profile cases in the country, including Telgi stamp paper scam. Later, she led the National Crime Records Bureau, CBI, bringing structure and insight to the way India understands its own crimes. In 2019, she was appointed by the Honorable President of India as a member of the Lokpal, where she continued her commitment to clean governance until the end of her term in 2024. Through every role, she remained what she has always been, a perfectionist at heart. Someone who did not settle for appearances, only outcomes. Now based in Chennai, she continues to stay engaged in causes that matter deeply to her: road safety, human trafficking, and under trial justice. This conversation is not just about uniform and rank. It is about grit, judgment, and the leadership that does not flinch. A conversation worth pausing for. Thank you so much for being here. I think one of my biggest honors to have somebody like you sit across and talk to me on this podcast. The first thing I do wish to ask you, ma'am, is before the badge, before the uniform, who was Archana? And after the badge, after the uniform, who's Archana?
Before joining the police, Archana was like any other fun-loving girl, surrounded by friends, brilliant in studies and also active in extracurricular activities. I belong to an Orthodox Brahmin family from UP, and our, the lifestyle at home was quite Purvanchal in character, but we lived in Rajasthan most of the time, though I was born in Delhi. So it's some kind of mixture of fusion of all these different cultures. But one thing I would say about my family, that despite being very conservative, they always created a supportive environment at home. And especially my parents were very keen about my education and then going for a good career.
Wow, that's wonderful. And how about after, ma'am? After the badge and the uniform, who is Archana today?
No, after, of course, there were many differences. That way, after post-graduation in economics, I also taught for a while as a lecturer before I joined the IPS. And incidentally, the year I was selected for IPS, I was also selected for Indian Economic Service.
Oh, wow.
I had to kind of compare. And those days, there was an option for girls to opt out of IPS and go for any central services.
Okay.
Because even at that time, it was considered quite tough for women. But my father said, and I had one more choice to make, whether to choose Indian Economic Service
Yes.
or Indian Police Service. But my father was very particular that I joined the police. He had a fascination for uniform. Plus, he told me that I have a certain aggression in my personality, and also, the desire to walk that extra mile. And my father said that this is one job which will give you a lot of opportunity to innovate, to do things in your unique way and help the people in distress.
Absolutely.
So then, these services are not just assignments. They become your, a very integral part of your life.
Wonderful, ma'am. That takes me to the next question. Was it passion, or were you duty conscious, or was it justice? What was driving you to do what you were doing?
No, as I mentioned, in my days, I belong to 1980 batch of Indian Police Service. Those days, for a girl to go for a job itself was her being ambitious.
Yes.
You don't need any other proof. If somebody wants to work outside home, that itself is being ambitious. And I would... The justice thing was only after joining the police, because once you decide about the job, at that time, we are not really fully aware of what lies ahead.
Absolutely.
So it was basically, the scope for doing something different.
Correct.
That kind of inspired me to join the police.
Wow. And what kept you going, ma'am, on your toughest days? What was it that kept telling you that you have to keep going? Because that's something that you require in this line of work, right?
But, it all depends, once you are in the service, it's like I always have this, whatever I want to do, I want to give my best to it.
Yes.
Even if it is cleaning my cupboard.
Correct.
I want to do it with a degree of precision as if I'm conducting some surgery.
Wow.
So that applied to most of my assignments, including some very mundane ones, so-called mundane ones.
Ma'am, let's start from the beginning of your career. You come from another state. You were posted in another state. From language to culture, so many things were different. You had to take into consideration not just your own team, but also the people. You were at a people-facing role always, right? How did you bring them all into confidence? Because I see that across states, there is always a little bit of, gap when there is a different language. So can you speak a little bit about your experience? What really helped you?
I must admit, when I was allotted to Tamil Nadu, I was upset.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents were shocked.
Okay.
Because Tamil Nadu was one state we had read about only in textbooks.
Right.
Some of the perceptions were not very positive, like one thought, the North Indians are not liked in that state. And that type of, and of course, language was a barrier. Everybody told me when the cadre was allotted that, language would be a problem initially. But when I stepped into Chennai,
Mm-hmm.
I reported at Police Training College, Ashok Nagar.
Okay.
So then I realized language was the barrier. So unless you knew the language, you just couldn't move an inch forward.
Correct.
Culture-wise, I would not consider it much different because I came from a very simple middle-class family and I found the similar reactions, the similar expressions here also. That I would not say culturally I found something very different. And you're talking about the trust as to how I built my trust with the people
Yes.
I work for. It is the other way around. I joined my practical training in Coimbatore and I, slowly that initial apprehensions started withering away. People were very nice, my own, people who were attached to me for training and I was also SHO in charge of Perur police station.
Okay.
So, that's a total rural area.
Correct.
Those days.
Correct.
Yes. So interacting with them, then you find, they are like us only.
Correct.
So maybe I should work more on my language. And then when I went to Madurai, then that was my first independent charge of a subdivision. So, what I found, the people and my team, even some of the officers who may be junior to us in rank, like inspector, sub-inspector. But since we used to be very young and all, and particularly for me, IPS was my first chance, and I joined IPS at a very young age.
Correct.
So they would treat me as if I'm under their care, and they'll be very affectionate. And similarly, people also. So if I visit a scene of crime, they would come to me, and if they have any grievance, they would whisper into my ears.
Wow.
So I remember a crime scene when we were visiting. I found the man of the house was not very happy somehow with the pace of investigation.
Mm-hmm.
So he told his wife something which I couldn't understand. We didn't bother also. They must be talking. But she came to me and she whispered into my ear. She said, "Moppunai varla."
Oh.
So I knew Nai, but this Moppa thing baffled me completely. Then I looked at my inspector and he said, "Emma Satama pesu." Something. So she said, "Moppunai varla, sir." So then he told me she's talking about sniffer dog. So, but in that crowd, they chose to air their grievance to me, gave me a lot of confidence. So I would say that they gave me a lot of assurance and confidence. It is the other way. I'm indebted to them.
That's amazing, ma'am. I mean, I didn't expect that answer, to be honest, because I thought that you would have had to fight your way through so many, barriers like that.
There was another factor which helped me a lot. My gender. Tamil Nadu, I noticed wherever I went, I found a lot of respect for women. So if there is a law and order situation, I was posted in Madurai during 83, 84, that was the time the Sri Lanka problem was very much live, and there used to be a number of protests here.
Correct.
My SP used to say that if I send you, things get solved easily. So I found that my male counterpart would have some difficulty in dealing with the people, but when I go and talk to them, they listen to me.
Wow. Was it, you would say, some sort of emotional intelligence without tagging it at that point? Was it something empathy or emotional intelligence that was playing the cards?
No, I think it is just, see what happens when your day-to-day routine of policing. If people find that you listen to them, you try to help them, you're receptive to their grievances. So, and that builds a trust.
Wow.
So when such a person comes and tells you, then there is respect for women. Avanga solranga, namma kekala. Now I think things are different. But I'm talking about, 80s, much more innocent times.
Of course.
And they won't have any agenda behind their protest.
That's
so
true.
They would listen. So I found that this respect for women in the state was such a positive discovery for me. I used to tell my parents also about it whenever I would speak to them on phone.
So nice to hear about.
My mother also came. She used to stay with me. Madurai, I used to once in a while. I took her out with me. She also said, except the language, everything else is similar.
Yes, that's very true. As a culture, I think we are very respectful of the women that we have. And that takes me to the next question. See, as somebody in the police force, there's always a pressure of politics, there's pressure of the society, there is, the emotional quotient that gets added in, especially when you're a woman. And you seem to be somebody who has mastered this somehow. I mean, the combination. Can you speak a little bit about this? How did you hold on to your values even with such pressures? Because let's be honest, this is truth. There is no hiding. You get pressure from every side, right?
His societal pressure, I would say, was less in my case. As I mentioned to you, I had a supportive family before marriage. I got married to a Tamilian. My husband is from Tamil Nadu. He belongs to 1979 batch of IAS. My in-laws family also. So as far as my job was concerned, there were never any restrictions. They understood my requirements, job requirements, and whatever extra I had to do. And in fact, I could bring up my both children very well because of my mother-in-law. She was very supportive. So societal pressure was not much. Now, political pressure works in a very subtle way. Sometimes there would be direct interference. And if you do not oblige or you remain indifferent, then you have to pay the price somewhere or the other. Some of them may get petty and vindictive. By and large, what they would do, they post you in peripheral assignments. So that was one. You suddenly find that a male colleague of yours who may not be as capable as one would think I am, will be always landing up with the better assignments, more so-called more important assignments.
Understood.
That is, one is gender, because for police there is some degree of doubt also whether she would be able to handle or not. So like when I went to Nilgiri as SP, so in the police headquarters also I had to face a lot of condescending remarks. So, it's a light district, compact district, you will be able to handle it. So that is always there. So one is the hesitation to give you important assignment. Another, if you prove to be difficult. So it has been like that. So there have been times when I have been given those less important assignments. But one thing, as I mentioned to you, that if I clean my cupboard, I will do it with a certain degree of precision and try to be as perfect as possible. These jobs, whatever I was interested with, I tried to give my best. And always made that assignment slightly better than what it was when I joined. That is one thing which really held me, Like I was posted as in the economic offense wing, and everybody said, just a half an hour job. So I had just come out of CBI at that time, and I had investigated economic offences cases there, including Telgi scam. So I could not believe my ears that there won't be enough work in economic offense wing. So when I got the files and all, I found that most of them related to those, fraud committed by fly-by-night companies, and most of the victims were senior citizens. So we started working on those cases. We got in touch with the official liquidators and administrators appointed by the court so that the money is refunded quickly. And we also pursued the prosecution part more effectively. It gave me enough work. And I felt good about it. I held depositors meeting, and they used to come and tell. I got a letter from somebody, some 85, 86 years old person who was living alone in some old age home. And when some inspector along with some staff of official liquidator went and handed over the money to him in the old age home, he wrote me a letter of thanks.
Wow.
That I would have never imagined that I will get my money back. And
my God.
Thank you so much, and I bless you. I think the letter is more precious to me than any police medal.
Wow. There's no better gratification than something like this, ma'am. Ma'am, I also find you as somebody who doesn't, this is my observation of the conversations we've had, and also a lot of reading that I've done about you, that you're not somebody who raises her voice, but you have that quiet, command when you walk into a space. Can you speak a little bit about your style of working, ma'am?
I think my juniors would be able to tell you better about that.
Because when you said aggression, that your father identified that you had a bit of aggression.
Aggression need not be raising your voice. Raising your voice, it may intimidate people temporarily. It may instill fear. But in the long run, it's your conduct, with high levels of integrity, that wins the respect of your team. So that is important. Our juniors or subordinates, though I hate using this term, they are our best judge. They do not give assessment to our work once in a year like our seniors would do. They judge us every day.
That's true. That's very true.
And they know that if she says that, let's do it within a week, she means it. And it better gets done. And you know what happens? I always felt that my team should give its best to me willingly, because that has been my style also. I have had bosses who have brought the best out of me. I also had bosses who, made me feel unhappy about my work. So it also depends. I think raising your voice is not a solution. One may do it once in a while, but that should not be your USP. That doesn't help. So I don't know how far it has been helpful to me, but suffice to say that I have always received the utmost cooperation of my team.
It's wonderful, ma'am. If you had to name just one principle that kept you going throughout your career, what would it be? What we say, the sanskar, my upbringing and the values I believed in, always told me to listen to my conscience. So I would do what I think was right in my view. And as a police officer, it was also the law of the land. So these two things have to combine. Come together.
And I always, whenever I took any decision, whether it is deciding about a charge sheet or arresting someone or pursuing some particular link in a case, I would always say, should it be done by me? Not because somebody has put pressure on me, or maybe if I do this, I will get a better assignment in future. So that, I think, was a very temptation. Many people fall for that. And they also, I have seen many people in our career who adjust with everybody. So they may have a good run, but sometimes they really come to grief very badly. So it is ultimately, what is the use? You better do what is right in your view.
Absolutely.
So this is something, I've always felt that whatever I have to do, I should do fearlessly, boldly. No compromise there.
Wow. Wonderful, ma'am. You led the NCRB when data was so crucial to justice. Can you tell me what these numbers meant and the work that you've done then? How is it impacting us today, ma'am?
NCRB's tenure was a brief one, but an immensely satisfying one. Because first of all, I discovered that it was a mixed team. There are some people drawn out of police department and some from the technical side. And some of them were also from the statistics department. Because as you know, National Crime Record Bureau compiles crime in India publication, and also, accident statistics, suicides statistics. So these things are, they require the expertise of people from, statisticians. So they were also there. So it's a mixed team. You're not, and it widens our horizon also.
Absolutely.
We are dealing with different type of people.
And coming from economic background yourself, it would have been...
Yeah, it was good.
Yes.
But then, that was in 2015.
This was
so
much earlier, yes.
Much water had flown under the bridge, as they say. But CCTNS, which was, you would have heard about this ambitious project, Crime and Criminal Tracking Network Systems. It was launched in 2009, but it did not pick up the desired pace for quite some time. And 2014-15, people were somewhat disappointed with it also. And there was less cooperation from the states also, because earlier projects of NCRB, there was not much of a connect between NCRB and the states. But this project was very good. And fortunately, it was not given up. It was strengthened. So 2015-16, and I also have a minor contribution towards that. So it started working, and later on I heard that in 2017 they launched a portal also.
Okay.
I have been in touch with NCRB. I go for all their events. As long as I was in Delhi, I used to go. So that was one very important thing. See, now this is a very, very sophisticated system, and digitally it will help the investigating officer anywhere in the country to connect the crime he or she is handling with the perpetrators.
Wow.
With the database of the crime and criminal tracking network systems. Plus, the National Crime Record Bureau at that time also had started providing certain services to the citizens using the data, like missing vehicles and things like that. So that the citizen-friendly character of National Crime Record Bureau also appealed to me a lot. I also focus on the issues of fingerprint experts, and they are also under the National Crime Record Bureau in the sense that the certificate for their completing the training and required parameter is given by the National Crime Record Bureau.
Okay.
So every year there is a conference also. So fingerprint experts, they play a very important role in our investigation. And that was the time we started working on NAFIS, National Automated Fingerprint Identification System.
Okay, wow.
So now, it cuts down the time taken in investigating the case, and it would also reduce a lot of, some kind of high-handedness of the police, because you have technology to help you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I also started working on a report on human trafficking as brought out by certain countries like US, trafficking in persons. So some work was done towards that end also. Because in Crime Branch CID, I was the nodal officer for human trafficking for Tamil Nadu. And I had really been quite taken aback by the dimensions of this menace.
Oh my God.
So I could start working on that in NCRB during my limited tenure. But on the whole, a wonderful period.
I think as you were speaking, I feel how involved you were in each of these things, because when you're so dedicated, when you're passionate about whatever you pick up, like you said, even if I'm cleaning my cupboard, I will do it well.
Which is quite a pain for my family.
But, ma'am, I think it's phenomenal. It speaks so much volumes about you as a person, you as an individual, you as a contributor towards a better society today. And there is no shaking that off at all.
I don't know about that, because I don't think I have brought some revolution. In my own limited way, whatever was entrusted to me, I have tried to do it in the best possible manner.
I don't think you should underplay yourself at all, ma'am, because the next question I did want to ask you about was becoming the Director General of SSB. And, this is something no woman has still achieved. Ma'am, can you speak a little bit about the SSB? Because, in one of your interviews, I heard you say that, to deal with friendly borders is also very tricky, because you have to be so much more careful about how you handle everything, right? From your trafficking, from your smuggling to terrorism, which seems to be one of the biggest threats today. Can you speak a little bit about your time there? I know you empowered so many women around the area, and, can you speak a little bit about your work there, ma'am?
Being posted as the first of any paramilitary force in India was definitely an honor, and for that I thank the Almighty and the system. That was my job just before I retired from the Indian Police Service after some 37 years of service. I was there in SSB for slightly less than 2 years. But as I say, this was something remarkable. SSB guards borders with two countries, Nepal and Bhutan. Now, after the Kargil war, it was decided that the principle would be one border, one force, so as to ensure coordination issues are not hurting the deployment of forces. So Nepal and Bhutan both are friendly borders. But particularly in case of Nepal, we all know how vulnerable it is for access. It gives free access to people, because the people on both sides of the border, they have family relations.
Correct.
Some families, there are alliance also.
Correct.
What they say in Hindi, roti or beti ka rishta hai. But then that open border also gets exploited by criminals.
Correct.
So your border security or border management, to use a better word, has to be done in such a manner that it does not cause inconvenience to the general public, the law-abiding people, but at the same time is able to get hold of the criminal elements who are trying to exploit and they are not only open, they are porous also. It's even if you want to install some kind of border fencing and all, it's not possible. It's not attempted also. And there are border pillars only. In SSB, I focused on the border outpost because they are like police stations for the paramilitaries. So border outposts are closer to the borders. So I emphasized on their training. We undertook exclusive training programs for the border outpost. We also worked on the intelligence part. And I was really happy to see that the government approved our proposal for sanction of an exclusive intelligence wing for the SSB, comprising 700 personnel, including 3 DIGs.
Wow.
So that was a big boost to the intelligence capabilities of the force, which is known as People's Force. That was one thing. Then I also emphasized on working for the welfare of the Jawans. Accommodation, part of it, tried to acquire some land, and in 2-3 places we went for family accommodation, so that even when Jawans are posted in the border areas, they are assured that their families are put up in a proper place. For women Jawans or officers, we also brought in gender-friendly infrastructure. Some of the border outpost has got women also. SSB has got a sizable presence of women also.
I did want to ask you, ma'am, one question is that, when we speak about watching the border, the people that work there, be the military force or the police force, there is so much they're leaving behind in their homes and coming here and working. If there were things that you could improve for them, what are the kind of things that you would improve for them, ma'am? I'm asking out of sheer understanding of what all they go through on a day-to-day basis, and what more as a country we can do for them.
One is even the martyrdom of soldiers nowadays is not a big deal. It will be mentioned in some corner of the paper. So I think the country should show more respect to its heroes, the real heroes. And let me tell you, it is not just they're dying in the cause of duty. Even the living conditions are very challenging. In high altitude border outpost in Sikkim and in some places, they live in very, very difficult terrain and very, very unhealthy conditions. So day to day itself, it's not an easy job.
My God.
Forget about their, becoming a shaheed. So that is one thing we need to work on. But the conditions cannot be improved beyond a point.
Correct.
Borders will remain what they are.
Correct.
You cannot reduce the misery there. What one can do is to equip them better, which is being done.
It's wonderful.
Now the forces have much better clothing. Equipment-wise, there has been tremendous progress. And also welfare initiatives have been taken.
Wow.
In fact, there is a combined wing for all the, they are not called paramilitary, they are called Central Armed Police Forces.
Right.
For the reason that they are under the Ministry of Home Affairs.
Okay.
And they are not army. They have this interface with people. So their duties are somewhat different. This combined wing takes care of the issues relating to Jawans in all the forces, whether it is CRPF or BSF or SSB or ITBP or CISF. I was the senior most DGP at that particular point of time among the other DGs.
Wow.
So I had the privilege of heading that wing for some
Wow.
time. And we used to sit together and would think of some solutions as to how the life of our Jawans can be made better. So one thing I used to emphasize to my people in SSB, please be accessible and also listen, because sometimes there have been occasions when some Jawan, this WhatsApp is used by everybody nowadays. So suppose the battalion commandant has not heard them or they have not got any redressal for their grievances. So that fellow will straight away WhatsApp to me. Now, which is somewhat breach of discipline.
Yes.
But I also wanted things to reach me.
Correct.
So I always took a balanced view. I would not reply, but would make a note of that problem. So whether he is exaggerating, he or she, or sometimes their families would also WhatsApp because I was
Oh
a
my God.
woman DG. So they would say कि हमारे husband को यहाँ से वहाँ post कर दीजिए. Some of them would also complain against them if there is a case of violence, domestic violence and all. So I used to get those messages and would know things. And the fact that I was a woman, whenever I would visit a border formations where families were there, I used to talk to the families also, and certain things which I would not hear from their from the officers and Jawans because of discipline, the wives would tell me. This is how one could interact with them and
as we spoke earlier, the emotional intelligence, right? It has taken you much closer to the people you were working with in a broader spectrum than it normally would, is what I feel when I speak to you.
If you are very
ma'am,
rigid,
today.
see, there is a difference between being disciplined, being strict, and being rigid. So, what you are saying, emotional intelligence, maybe it is compassion or maybe understanding the people I'm working with, their grievances, their aspirations, their difficulties.
Approachability. Simple state of
So
approachability.
it is important from our job also to get the maximum out of them
Yes.
in a manner which they do cheerfully.
Yes. Absolutely.
So I think, and most of the higher positions I have noticed in service, you don't require a genius. You require a person who is compassionate and has common sense. I think these two
the best combination.
qualities can take you, and you may be some genius, but if you are not compassionate and you lack common sense, you would end up miserably.
Correct. Very true, ma'am. Very true. Ma'am, I did want to ask, you studied economics and then went on to do your master's in criminology from the University of California?
Yes, University of Southern California.
Southern California.
In Los Angeles.
I want to understand something about, crime in India, because for somebody like me, for instance, I love watching crime thrillers on OTT. For some reason, I find it very intriguing because to understand the minds of these people, right? At one point, I felt that, it was getting a bit overwhelming. Now, this is everywhere. People are watching these series. It's accessible to everybody. Can you talk a little bit about how, as a society, we have to start looking at these things? Because the amount of access we have today is not what we used to have earlier. So that's also evolving. How do you think we should be looking at this today, ma'am?
See, let me go back to my years in University of Southern California. It was a 2 years study leave, which as an All India Service Officers, I was eligible for. That time, there used to be a lot of emphasis on their juvenile crime rates, and that time itself, things were bad there as far as the younger part of the population was concerned. Another thing which I noticed was there that the criminology was quite integrated with with this subject of sociology. So it was less of an individual, more of a social influence is what, at least at that time, we studied it. How the criminal's mind is influenced and how the society shapes up. So I also feel that an individual gets influenced by the environment he or she lives in. His, the fears and the prejudices we have, insecurities we nourish in our minds, these are all a product of the environment we live in. So that's why, there used to be a lot of emphasis on moral values in earlier studies also. We used to have a subject, moral science,
Moral science,
which
yes.
I used to find very funny those days. And sometimes we used to bunk those periods also in college.
Yeah, very true.
But now I understand the importance of that subject. So, US, the discussion on juvenile crime had started that time itself. For that, it was not, for us, it was not that problem. But now, if you look at the data and you just read the newspapers, you will find that so many crimes are being committed by minors.
Yes.
And crimes by minors against minors, including rape.
Yes.
Now, this accessibility, I would say, all, the porn or something on your smartphone, I think it has exposed those young, innocent minds to a material they are not able to handle.
Correct.
They're too immature to understand the implications. So that is also something which bothers me. And earlier, even the films censor boards would be very particular about these things. But now, when I look at this OTTs, they run tutorial
My God.
for committing crime. I happened to saw one serial where he is telling the person exactly as to where exactly you should place the knife
Oh my God.
to ensure that one hit itself is deadly. Now, what is it? Those people who are getting initiated into crime by simply watching these serials. Even the intimacy, the physical intimacy is being shown in such a disgusting manner. So I think people are getting influence, and it's a problem. The way violence is getting normalized these days, it is becoming a problem. People are, you have so many cases of road rage, a smallest of, silliest of altercation, people are attacking each other.
Correct.
Educated, well to do. So I think this is something we should take note of.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely. It is very scary to.
Very difficult. It's a tall order to control this access. And then there is talk of freedom of expression also. So I really don't know whether freedom of expression can relate to such content.
Absolutely agree with you, ma'am. In fact, one of the recent very famous OTT series was about a child committing murder, and everybody was speaking about it. And they said, "You should watch, you should be aware of what's happening." It scared me. I did not watch. But what you're saying, Miki, why should I be watching that content? And why should I ask other people to also be watching that
We're
content?
talking
It is
about this
scary.
adolescence
Yes.
on Netflix.
Yes. Yes.
I've not watched it, but you don't have to. It is there all over around us also. You have children who are confined to their rooms
Yeah.
throughout the day. Parents have no idea what they are up to. You see, the bullying in schools has gone up. The same thing they are showing in this series also, where
Yes.
that manly traits are to be amplified in
Yeah.
the boy's character, and it gets to an extent where he kills another girl. It's also, you look at the serials where the abuses, very filthy abuses, are allowed without any cut, and those abuses are always in the name of mother and sister. See, women have become an easy game for all these serials and cinema. So is what they say that you just look at women as a commodity. So I think this is something disturbing.
Absolutely, ma'am. It really is, and it's a huge influence on all of us. The way that we think tomorrow, we may take it easy to think
No,
that it's okay. This is
we are
happening.
talking of empowerment of women on the one hand,
One hand.
and we are degrading women in some way or the other on the other hand. So people also have this confusion, what they read, what they hear is not what they experience around them.
Correct.
And the family values are also like that.
Yes.
Boys are always treated differently.
Different.
So I think it is becoming much better now.
Mhm.
And now the girls are getting pampered a lot. It has gone the other way.
My
That-
God. A little bit more about criminology, ma'am. When you studied in the US, you would have studied cases that belong to the US. When you came down to the grassroots levels here in India, what stood out for you? What was the difference between studying criminology and working actually at the grassroots?
See, criminology as a discipline it will not be directly related to the day-to-day policing. It's something different, though it may be helpful. It is a related field.
Correct.
But the application of the principles you have studied may not be exactly very appropriate, though you may use the understanding of the issues. US policing, I also did my thesis on the relation between organizational goals and recruit training. So there, of course, there was a lot of similarity between US and India, because there also they say a rookie, the moment he comes to the field, he or she is told by the boss, you forget about what you learned in training. So that happens here also. With training, we are learning certain principles of policing. This is how you should behave. This is how you should conduct yourself. These are the laws to be followed. But in the field, situation is entirely different. So there are two reasons for that. One is we have not taken training seriously. Secondly, the training may be unrealistic, may not be relating to the conditions you are facing.
Correct.
So, but I think quite a lot of training is not unrealistic. It sounds unrealistic because conditions in the field are becoming more and more, I would say, politicized, communalized, and that is something an average police officer is baffled with. Long back when this National Police Commissions was set up in 70s, so they published 8 volumes of their very, very comprehensive report, and there only they talked about the police reform. And there they said, it's a line which has almost etched in my memory. They say, while concluding, an average policeman has come to realize that inaction is better than action. Now, that is what is happening to the grassroots policing. Because a constable does not know if he takes action in a particular manner, would he or she be found fault with? Or it is better to remain inactive. That would not invite any comment, that would not invite any punishment. Only when you act, there are problems.
Correct.
So these are all issues, pertaining to grassroots policing. Another thing is the image of police, which is it can improve only when you have the right type of people manning sensitive post. And I always believed, in my opinion, police reforms will be successful only when there are political reforms and judicial reforms. Our criminal justice system has to come to a track. Uh, right now, people don't believe in taking recourse to that. So, taking law into their hands is a better option. So that is also a situation police has to cope with.
It's a lot. It's a lot to bring together, but
Yeah, these are all interlinked factors. It's very difficult to isolate one from the other. But yes,
it's not impossible.
You may equip the police,
Yes.
you may modernize the police, but unless and until they have the courage to act
Act.
as per the law, as per their conscience, other things are, I think, secondary in nature. And that doesn't happen if there is a leadership deficit, or one is not appreciated for the correct
Correct action.
application of laws. I don't know whether I'm making myself clear.
It is, ma'am. It really is very
These
clear,
are
and
all
it's
random thoughts, and
no. I think they come out of a lot of experience of being in the system yourself. So
no, I think criminal justice system needs to be fixed. It will take care of lot of problems. They have to have judiciary which is better equipped, which is selected on merit. Fast tracking also, if they follow the same adjournment culture, uh, that's not going to
that's
help.
not going to work.
See, I was a member of Lokpal for last 5 years.
Mhm.
And there we function as a civil court, and if the complaint comes against a public servant, and there is the preliminary inquiry reveals that there is some prima facie material, then before proceeding further, Lokpal as a body
Mhm.
gives an opportunity to that public servant to appear either directly or through some legal representative to state their defense
Correct.
before decision to prosecute is taken or to drop the matter. So there also I noticed that they used to, some of them would appear through lawyers, and it will be like seeking adjournment for the for very minor reasons,
Reasons.
and that we used to discourage. But then I think for all cases are going on for years and
Years
years,
together.
and then nobody is bothered about law. The police also adopt shortcut methods only because of this. I mean, I'm not justifying that.
Yeah.
I'm not justifying that at all. But if there is a, the cases are quickly decided, then there is, police also may have reasons. They may not produce witnesses, they may delay their charge sheet. But I'm talking about the cases. I have been in CVCID, I have been in CBI, I have been in economics office wing, in anti-corruption wing. Even in field policing, we used to lay charge sheet. By the time the charges are framed by the court, lot of gap will be there. Witnesses become old, they forget. Then some minor contradiction will be there in their statement. Case will end in acquittal. So it's a system which is unaffordable for most of the people.
Correct. Very true, ma'am. In fact, one of the questions that I really wanted to ask you today was about that. How do you balance urgency and fairness in a system that is so large?
See, there is an old saying, justice delayed is justice denied. Though there are counter arguments also, justice hurried is justice buried.
Mm.
Of course, fortunately, we don't have that situation in our country. So we have to ponder more on justice delayed is justice denied. Whichever way you take the trial of the case, whether there is a problem on the part of the prosecution or defense or police or forensic science, we have to somehow simplify the procedure.
Yeah.
And adhere to the time limit in disposal of cases. It's a very, what I'm saying is, it is not going to be an easy thing given the pendency of cases. But then something needs to be done if the faith of the people in the criminal justice system has to be restored.
Absolutely. Absolutely, ma'am. That takes me to something that I was very intrigued to ask about. In your entire career span, if there was one nail biting case that that is that sits with you even today, what would you? I mean, what would you say it was?
See, I have been handling so many cases that suddenly choose a case out of those cases would be very difficult. But one or two cases I may mention, they are
Mhm.
not exactly falling under the category of nail biting. But I remember, for example, when I was ASP, that was my first subdivision independent charge,
Mhm.
I got a complaint of torture in police custody.
Okay.
So when I went there, I found the complaint was true. So we immediately referred the matter for RDO inquiry as per the procedure. And then what I did next was something which is normally not expected.
Mhm.
I seized all the records. I said, yes, it will stop here. So it wasn't liked because, then there is, I wanted to avoid, the ASP days, you are full of idealism
Mm.
and you're not bothered about the so called practical aspect of a situation. So, that was something I remember because they all said that this is not done. But I thought it was correct because otherwise the records could be manipulated.
Correct.
So if you want to win the trust of the public, we need to, make sure that our procedures are also correctly adopted. And there was another case that was slightly of political character. There was a death of one politician in road accident.
Okay.
So the narrative which appeared in the public and in media was that this was a case of sabotage and this road accident was engineered by the rivals.
Okay.
The leader of that particular political group should be arrested. Now a case was referred to the crime branch. Then while investigating, we wanted to look into all the leads,
Correct.
whether it is just a case of road accident, because the vehicle concerned, it was a container and it had vanished after that. And looking at the accident scene and the circumstances in which the road accident happened, it was difficult to believe that it was a case of sabotage, but we didn't want to take any chances since that was the popular narrative. Uh, we just wanted to go the whole hog. But for that, it was important for us to get the driver of that vehicle.
Mm.
That lead was very important. And it was pursued relentlessly. I had a somewhat difficult time because the expectation is that you lay your hands on the man
Correct.
who is being accused of committing this sabotage. Now, the person was not some saint, but then he should be connected with the
Correct.
case.
Correct.
The investigation is like Arjuna is observing that particular
The
fish's
yes.
eye of the fish. So unless the person is connected with the crime, you cannot go by his reputation or his
Correct.
that has been
That should
my
not be
principle.
influencing your
Yeah,
case.
that's not fair investigation of that particular case.
Correct.
So then we traced the vehicle in West Bengal
Mm-hmm.
and arrested the driver from Andhra. And by various, theories and evidence, including the forensic one, this check post cameras, which were not all those great
High
technique
tech at
wise
that
those
point, yeah.
days. We found that it was only a case of accident.
Mm.
Car of the politician, the driver was over speeding.
Mm.
But that case gave a lot of, anxious moments. So sometimes I feel there is so much pressure on the police officer that, yes, so and so has been accused. Now you go and arrest him. Resisting their pressure is very difficult. But if you want to really do your job honestly, you have to go into detail.
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't call it a nail biting case, though it required a lot of hard work. It almost
Absolutely.
became an interstate investigation, which
Correct.
of course is part of the mandate of the crime branch CID. It was difficult. Then Telgi cases, the sheer volume and connecting the leads in different cases. 48 cases were referred to CBI by Honorable Supreme Court. Then we also got complaints transferred to us from the states.
Wow.
So we had to constitute a big team in CBI, and I was the joint director supervising the work of all these teams in various states. So just to kind of link the lead in one case in another was difficult.
Absolutely. My God.
So, and we tried video conferencing in that case for the first time in, they say, not
The
only in
history
country,
of
but
our.
maybe in Asia.
Wow.
The case was pursued up to the last stage of the trial through video conferencing
Wow.
and ended in conviction. It was a small case, but we tried it. So, video conferencing was between Maharashtra, two like states of Yarwada jail. He was lodged at a Yarwada jail,
Mhm.
Telgi. He was appearing before the Mumbai court, and some of the witnesses were appearing from Bangalore also. So this was a new experience, and we had gone to Supreme Court to empower us to do that and
Wow.
request the state to help us logistically. I think that was a great
Wow.
experience, and the prison department informally they shared with us that they saved a lot of money by not producing the person
Absolutely.
in physical custody was
Correct.
not required, and it also reduced the safety risk.
Exactly. The travel safety, the
Mm,
timelines, there are so many
mm.
things attached. Beyond all of this, you've been a part of the CBI, you know, you've headed police cadre, you've headed parliamentary force, you've been in the Lokpal, but you're also a mother. You've brought up two children. Of course, there is the support system that you had. But working with criminals and the criminal justice system on a day to day basis could easily instill fear in your mind to bring up children in a world like this because you're in and out of this every day. Ma'am, can you speak about your journey with your own mind with regards to bringing up children? Because today, still a lot of women in the cadre, they go through this, they continue going through this, and the people who are going to follow, who are going to join the police force or any force for that matter, are going to be facing this because this will be so helpful for people watching today. Can you speak a little bit about the battles in your mind?
I have tried my level best to downplay
Hmm.
my official persona when I entered my home.
Okay.
And that was the case with my children also. But it's very difficult, because they are brought up in an environment, they
Absolutely.
also see what their parents are doing. But I think they had a very normal upbringing, and I was also like, if I with my husband also, we never discussed official matters at home.
Mm.
So most of the time, I would not know what he's doing at work. He would not know. So I thought it was not necessary. Why bring the official work at home also? Though I used to bring files at times. So that has been the attempt. But having said that, I would also add that there have been some moments of guilt also, where I felt that perhaps at this stage I could have given more time to my
Children.
children, and that work home balance becomes little difficult in certain postings.
Absolutely.
So that has been a real handicap.
Mm.
But as far as influencing my interaction, I mean, my interaction with criminals influencing my relation with the children, I have not noticed that in my case. I don't know
Did
if
you
some.
ever fear that you're bringing up children in a cruel world?
I have been a disciplinarian in the family, but I don't know whether that is something to do with my being a cop. That is true of most of the mothers. So,
For instance, for me, when I hear news, especially about juvenile cases, or when I hear injustice against children, it scares me to the core.
I think now it is somewhat different, or maybe quite different, because now you suddenly find that your child is going to school. We don't know what kind of atmosphere he or she is being
Yes,
exposed to.
yes,
There is so many drugs floating around,
yeah,
and there is violence in the
society.
educational institutions. So much bullying is being
Yes,
reported. Girls do not feel safe,
Yes.
even in educational institution. So I think raising children in today's environment is difficult. So now, if I am a police officer in today's environment and I have a daughter, I would definitely be a lot more worried about her than an average mother because I know the conditions
Yes.
outside. So, but fortunately, in 80s or 90s, when I was bringing up my children, things were not so bad because your mm, access to information was also limited,
That's true. Very true.
even for your children. Now
Exactly.
social media is there. Each child has got a smartphone on his or her hand. They are obsessed with this. They are
Mm.
hooked to it. That problem we didn't have. There was no smartphone.
Correct.
That I think was a big boon.
It is, ma'am. It is because for us everything is scary today. We track our children to the T. Have they reached the school? Have they eaten? Who are they interacting with? Who's picking them up, dropping them? Are they stepping outside school, or have they boarded the bus? So many things. So many things. We are having to pay keen attention to every single detail the child is telling us at home. Oh, what happened yesterday? My son had something to tell us, and it scared me and my husband. We were thinking, oh, should we talk about it to the teacher or should we not? It's a bit scary. Is that behavior okay or not? Some child is doing this to my child. So many things that are constantly running on top of, having to do our work on one side. So, I was wondering for officers today, women officers today, or even male officers today who have young children at home, when they're seeing so much crime against children, so much happening, so much exposure, what must it be and how are they to deal with something like this? If you had to give a piece
No,
of advice, ma'am.
sometimes you have this fear that like we are taking action against some people, and what if they try to harm the child? My elder son was studying in third or fourth standard, and suddenly I think there was some bomb scare at their school or something. Some later on it proved to be a false alarm. So the children came out of the school, and there were no mobile phones and all, but they were trying to inform the parents. So my son was standing on the road with all the other students, and there was some parent there. So he went, some another person, he went with him.
Mhm.
Now, my mother-in-law called me saying that when the driver reached there, the child is not there. He seems to have gone with somebody. Somebody has taken him. That's
Oh
what.
my God.
யாரோ கூட்டிட்டு போயிருக்காங்க. I got very scared, That was the time, like I told my husband also, immediately I called him on landline. That was the only landline we used to have those. I informed the city police also. My batchmate was there, one of the deputy commissioners, and they alerted all the teams and all, and we reached the school, and he was not there. Then after some time, in those that short span of time, I felt so weak, and
Of course.
I had a feeling, my husband also feeling, somebody seems to have kidnapped him.
God.
So you imagine the worst.
Yeah.
Then after some time, that the person called at our place, because that phone number was there in his bag. He says he is with me. And see, there were no TV also breaking news.
Correct.
Otherwise, it would have come that some senior police officer's son has gone missing and all. So then he called my mother-in-law. Then she informed us when we reached home. And by that time, he had come home. He had dropped. He says he was standing alone on the road. That also, it was
Yes.
irresponsible on part of the school, till the
Correct.
somebody comes to pick up the child. That too, it is not the normal time.
Correct.
We have declared this enclosure before the expected time. So he said he was standing there. So while picking up my daughter, I took him, and then I asked him the number. He gave the card, and I'm calling. See, in fact, he was a good person. But what if it was,
Correct.
it had happened the way we feared?
Correct.
So that was one incident which comes to my mind,
So
that
there was
where your job can affect your family.
correct. So what is that? If there was a piece of advice you would like to give?
See, advice is one is, as you rightly said, be in touch with the children and maintain the dialogue with them. Sometimes we are also glued to our own mobile, our own busy in our own work. We hardly have time to talk to the children. They also don't have time to talk
Of
to
course.
us. I think that is what I'm noticing in the new generation.
Very true, ma'am.
So they are busy with their own lives, but somehow we have to break this ice, like having food together and watching a program together, talking about various things, narrating some old, anecdote.
Mm.
I think this is very important now because we don't know what kids are being exposed to.
Very true. Very true.
So the times in which I brought up my children were fortunately very innocent.
Correct.
Now
Things have changed
things have
drastically.
drastically changed, and there's so much of information. Half of it is very, of the wrong type in the public domain.
Ma'am, this takes me to the next segment of our interview, which is something that is very dear to me because people like you who are so inspiring. There is a certain kind or a way, I would say, in the way you make decisions. And this segment is to uncover that. And for that reason, I will be asking you a few questions and I'll give you some options. Basically, you just follow your instincts.
Is it KBC?
No, it's not KBC. I wish I had crores to give you, but no, I'll give you 4 options. There are no right or wrong. Choose what intuitively you would do. And then I will tell you what kind of a person you are. It could be revealing to you, but it's definitely going to be revealing to our viewers, and I can't wait for them to watch this segment. So we'll decode your personality here. We will start with ma'am. In a crisis, what guides your first steps? A. Structured protocols. B. Empathy for people. C. Strategic foresight. Or D. Silence and observation.
Strategic foresight.
Under sustained stress, what brings you back to balance? A. Routine and order. Reflection of faith. C. Trusted conversation. Or D. Deep focus on work.
Deep focus on work.
When justice is delayed, what keeps you going? Belief in systems, duty towards the victims, hope to inspire change, or faith in facts and data?
Hope to inspire change.
One word to describe your leadership style: firm, thoughtful, grounded, or quietly disruptive?
Grounded.
What trait do you guard the most closely? Integrity, faith, privacy, or clarity of thought?
Clarity of thought.
It's very clear, ma'am, that you work with a very strategic conscience, but you also execute very reflectively. So this is what I understand from breaking down your decision making style, because sometimes when we look at inspiring people, I'll tell you why I do this segment. It's also because when we look at inspiring people who are successful, who have climbed the ladder like you have beautifully, we know that they have done something, but we don't know what they have done. Sometimes we know what they have done, but we don't know why they did what they did. So I think that this segment is something that will break it down for people who are looking up to you, people like me, people who want to really learn out of a person's mindset. And that's why this segment is something that I hold very close to my heart, because I feel like I'm giving to my viewers for people who really want to learn today. So with that, we go into the last segment of this interview.
Okay, but let me just say
Sure, ma'am.
one word. That there is a kind of overlapping also. When you say strategic foresight and empathy,
Yes,
then these two are not mutually exclusive.
right. Very true. Very true, ma'am. They're
Your-
not mutually
Your strategic planning and approach could as well take empathy into consideration.
Yes, and sometimes I feel that somewhere they all intertwine, and there's absolutely no doubt about it. Some people, in the previous interviews, they've chosen more than one option as well. Maybe I should have given you the choice to choose
I
more than
would
one.
use
You would use both.
if you give me that
Of course.
flexibility.
Of course. I completely understand. And I think somewhere we use all of it. The focus, however, is on certain things slight bit more at any particular point in time. And this is more reflective of that side of your personality. Of course, everything will be blended in together. They are not mutually exclusive at all. I completely agree with you. So the last segment is called Power 30, ma'am. And here I will be asking you a set of questions. And if you can answer them, I won't call them rapid fire, but if you can answer them in 30 seconds.
This is tough without any prize. Okay.
You are our prize today. So you're giving us your time, space, and your personality.
It's a pleasure for me
yes.
as well.
So if you had to whisper one sentence to every woman entering IPS, one sentence, what would it be?
Sky is the limit. Fly fearlessly.
What was your toughest moments in service and what carried you through?
Compulsion to go against my conscience and resisting it kept me going.
Wow. What do you think would be an ideal idea, if there is, on eradication of corruption in India? If there was an ideal scenario.
One idea.
Yeah.
30 seconds is a tall order, ma'am, for eradicating corruption. I would say we need a lot of systemic improvement, make it difficult for people to become corrupt.
You have seen the country up close, ma'am. What, in your view, are the most dangerous crimes eating into our social fabric? And if you had to speak to someone who's on the verge of committing that crime, what would you say?
These are two different things. Let me answer the second question first.
Sure.
If I am seeing somebody committing crime, of course, I would try to prevent him or her and ask the motive. And then try to persuade him or her for not doing it because he may not achieve the purpose.
Correct.
And the second thing is the
question about, what are the most dangerous crimes?
Okay. I have been in anti-corruption also and CBI and Lokpal. I think corruption is very, very, I think the biggest impediment to not only our progress, but also to a lot of other things we do not realize directly. Many other things are happening because of corruption. Even the normalization of violence, which I told you, it's because some people want to make money out of such ideas. So I think corruption is something which we need to focus on, otherwise, because we have also become very normal with it. Chalta hai attitude has come. But I think this is something which we cannot give it up. We have to fight against it relentlessly. We saw I have exceeded the 30 seconds, but let me just tell for the benefit of those who are seeing the program also. In the 5 years of my tenure as member Lokpal, and along with my other colleagues also, we found so many complaints which were having the element of corruption, but they were touching almost each segment of the society and also sectors, whether it is education or health or governance, banking, insurance, public sector, corporate. So that this ecosystem is so strong that it is perpetuating all other crimes also. The mafias come out of corruption only. No mafia can survive.
Correct.
Unless it is allowed to.
Correct.
So we realized, it's not that we could have made some very big changes, and whatever complaints came to us, we had to act as per the the contours defined by the Lokpal Act. But we did notice these complaints had such diverse character and touching almost each and every crucial segment of our life. diversion of resources, affecting the quality of life, um, also affecting, impeding our democratic process,
Yes.
corrupting the democratic
Yes.
process, which is very important for people living in the largest democracy of the world.
Yes.
So this is everywhere, it's not something which we can, okay, it's a problem which I can just ignore it and
Absolutely. Definitely not.
brush it under the
Definitely
carpet.
not.
So, and in most of our orders, we have tried to, even unearth the systems which probably systemic inefficiency and loopholes, which probably had facilitated that particular act, corrupt act, in our own limited way. So, I think systems also should improve, make it easy for people to obey law, make it difficult for people to break the
Break the
law.
law.
Whereas in our country, it is just the opposite. Disregard for law and procedure is something very, very normal. The higher you are, is your status in society is decided by the extent to which you can violate the law. Is it not unfortunate?
Very, ma'am. Very.
So, this equality before law, as of now, is a myth, and it is mainly because of a corrupt system. There are countries which are worse than us, but I think that should not be a
That's not where, I mean, that's not what we should be
solace
comparing
for
ourselves to.
us.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. And every day we have to strive to becoming better and better.
And I think community involvement is very essential.
Essential, yes.
We also, in our day-to-day activities, should be honest, should not be a party to
Absolutely.
corruption.
Absolutely.
Unconsciously, we also do certain things which
Absolutely.
are not very, very lawful action.
You're very right. And with that, I would like to ask the last question of this segment, ma'am. What has been the most shocking truth or insight about crime in India that no one knows or talks about? Because you've been with the NCRB, you've seen the data, you've seen the records.
Data would not reveal that,
Mm-hmm.
but yes, the exposure to cases has made me believe that masterminds, they very rarely get caught. Everybody knows about it, but we rarely discuss it. In any charge sheet, it is most of the charge sheet, I won't say all. The masterminds generally escape the hands of the law because either they never dirty their hands and there is hardly any evidence against them. So in each case, people also are left with a doubt that they have not acted against X, they have not acted against Y, so and so is there. Because masterminds are very rarely caught. Everybody knows about this. We all know when particular thing happens, some crime takes place, we know the person behind it. But it's something which everybody deliberately ignores.
So, with that, ma'am, I think what a phenomenal session. Learning about our own environment through the eye of the people who are protecting us, who are striving so hard to make sure that we are safe, putting themselves in the line so many times, time and again, that we are seeing. I think as a society, there's so much more we can do for, the cadre that works relentlessly for us, and vice versa. They're already doing it and we will continue doing it. And I think as a society we have so much to learn from this session today. What I felt was that, in the end, it's you could have retired from this post, ma'am, but I don't think the service will ever leave you as a person. And I want to conclude this session by saying that thank you so much.
No, thanks a lot, Gayatri. Your questions also helped me looking at things from a different perspective. And yes, one never retires from such assignments. So now it is different phase of my life, post retirement. But apart from relaxing and doing things which I have not done, I'm also trying to do certain things in, my knowledge about policing, road safety. I'm been associated with certain campaigns.
Wow.
I would also like to work for under trial prisoners. Now I've resumed writing also about
Wow.
my thoughts, because one good thing about post-retirement phase is that we have more freedom to express our views.
That's true. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. It means a lot that you were here today, and thank you.